Awesome. Well, hello world. Welcome to the first episode of our podcast. We're super stoked to have Sheyda here as our first guest. Sheyda is the CTO of ViralMoment, which is a very cool AI sentiment analysis startup. And she actually grew up in both Iran and the United States, and she's here to talk about a little bit about her journey in STEM and her career, in general. So Sheyda, thank you so much for taking time and coming on. Really appreciate it. We'd love to know, a little bit more about your background and stuff that you've been doing.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me. First of all, very excited to be here. First time being a guest on any podcast. So this is very exciting for me. Um, but yeah, so I grew up in Iran until I was 17. So I went to high school in Iran and then did 1 year of high school, senior year of high school here, actually. Um, and then from there, I went off to UC Berkeley for my undergrad degree. Worked at a couple startups there. One of them went out of business. So that was interesting to see early on in my career. And then off to grad school at Carnegie Mellon, where I did an innovation management degree and an electrical and computer engineering degree. And actually, as part of my requirement for my grad degrees, I did 2 internships over summer. One of them was at NASA, which was super cool and super fun to do. Yeah. We did some algorithm development to help unmanned drones pilot better in cities so that they don't crash into buildings or people.
Wow.
And then after that, I went into industry. I worked at Capital One as a data engineer, at PwC as another like engineering consultant. And then most recently, I was at another startup. Well, now it's they IPO'd while I was there. So now it's no longer a startup, but it was when I joined. And then until I met my co-founder, Chelsea, and joined ViralMoment. So that was my journey. And now I'm the CTO of ViralMoment. So
Nice.
big jump.
That's super cool. Like, I'm glad you shared all that. That's like, startup, corporate, college, masters. You got it all in the bag.
Yeah. It was a very jumbled list of things that I did because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So at the beginning of my resume, it was just like so many different things that I did. And it was very confusing every time I went to an interview. They're like, so what do you want to be? And I was like, I have no idea. Can you just pay me, please?
Nice. That's super cool though. Yeah, that's like it seems like you've seen a lot of and had a lot of different experiences like throughout like not only countries and like places and like companies and startups. So that's awesome. So I guess like we're curious to know, what are you currently doing at ViralMoment at CTO, and what's it all about?
Yeah. So ViralMoment, we're a sentiment analytics company. And so we mainly do visual media. So I'm sure a lot of our conversations are happening on social media. And now it's like pictures on Instagram, videos on TikTok, or there's Clubhouse and audio. And right now, there's really no way to measure what's happening in these platforms, as everything we have is text-based. And so at ViralMoment, we have computer vision algorithms that just sifts through the internet and really understands what's happening in these platforms and in these posts. So you can understand the sentiment around the topic, like how many people are talking about a certain topic, how are they feeling about it, is it going viral, is it not going viral? So that's what we do. And so as the CTO, well, right now we have a team of now, I want to say 7 people. We have 5 interns, which is very exciting. One of them is from Slingshot, Andrew. He's amazing. And so, but my job mostly is to build just the tech side. So anything you see that we have on our products is I built it. So it's very busy, but it's really, really fun. So we're having a good time. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's super cool to hear. And I think this is like something in the news that we've always seen, like Elon Musk tweeting something and it going viral. And if only you'd known that.
Exactly. I know. Yeah. Yeah. Elon Musk is very, very active on social media.
That's cool. So I guess, is this like primarily, are you guys focusing now on just video, or this is also text, or?
Yeah, so we do text, but it's because it's so commonly available. Our really differentiator is that we do images, video, and audio. And so text is important. So we put all of that together and we're able to give you a bigger picture of what's happening on social media, not just a section of it. Because if you look at like Twitter, it's mostly textual, but then you're entirely missing everything that is on Instagram, everything that is on TikTok. There's a ton of content on Reddit, all of that stuff that is not being looked at right now. So it's it's a good data point to have if you're trying to just understand what's happening, what people are talking about. Yeah.
Right. That makes a lot of sense, especially as like a differentiator. Like I don't think I've heard of or anybody's heard of like doing this on video. So that makes a lot.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm curious to know, like, it seems like this problem is open-ended, and of course there's machine learning involved and computer vision involved. Like, how did you accrue these skills and like how do you come to approach this problem? Be like, okay, like I got this. I can figure out a solution for and manage like a whole team around it. Like where did those like how did you learn all this stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I worked at a ton of different places doing a lot of random different things, and somehow they all came together and me having an understanding of a big picture of what it looks like to build something from scratch. But I mean, so it's important to, if you have like a vision kind of where you want to end up eventually, you can tailor the work that you do to get to that point to give you more experience each time. So for example, I always knew that I wanted to work for myself. And so to do that, then you need to have a certain set of skills, right? Some you can learn through school, like, some management, like I said, the Carnegie Mellon management program is very helpful. Obviously grad school, if you want to do more machine learning stuff, is very helpful too. I worked on some really cool projects there for school. But then the bulk of, I want to say, engineering experience, if you're trying to build something backend, comes from industry. Because that's not really the focus of school. It's you're trying to research something or learn a new skill. It's not, well, how do I deploy an application? Yeah. So yeah, most of that I learned by working just as a backend data engineer at Capital One, and then at my last job at Vroom. But yeah, so it all kind of happened by accident, I'll be honest. So.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you're the perfect person for the job because ViralMoment is doing.
Thank you.
But that's awesome. So, we talked about industry and like how you picked up the skills through college and working on the job. But I guess I wanted to roll back the years a little more and talk about how was like high school like. You got into UC Berkeley, CMU, and like what are the things that you did in high school, and when did you first learn to program? What are the kinds of things that you
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I went to high school a long time ago, so I don't think my experience applies anymore. But so I went to high school in Iran, and over there the focus for everybody is very STEM focused, I would say. It's the schools there are separate because it is an Islamic country. So I went to an all-girls school, and so I always knew I was good at math, and so that was just the path that I took. Was I did math, and then I was like, I'm just going to do engineering in college, and that was just the way that it worked for me. And then so while I was there, it was just very much like just study, get good grades, and that's it. And then I came to America and I found out that you also need to have some extracurricular activities and show that you're more than just your grades, which is not what happens in Iran.
Right.
And so when I came here, I did, my uncle actually helped me write an application. It was like a game type of like a chess game. I forget what language it was in. Because he did most of the work. I was learning. Yeah. And I did some tutoring as well. But I think just because I came from Iran and most of my background was in Iran, I wasn't held up to the same standard of, you don't have like 5 years of volunteering, because that was not a thing that we did in Iran. But I did find that when I was in school and I was trying to find internships, it was difficult because I didn't have the same experience as everybody else who had done all these other things. And so it took a while for me to find my first internship. And then after that, another internship. And then after I had a couple, then it became easier. But the first one was very difficult. And yeah, in terms of programming, I didn't learn to code until I was in college. But again, like that doesn't apply today because it's, you know, you can learn. So my computer class in Iran was just the definition of what like a function is and what does it mean like to write, but it wasn't actually any coding because there were no computers in school. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Like I myself, like I did my high school in India completely, and I came from undergrad to CMU, and yeah, like there's really nothing that you could do like in school versus like kind of learn on your own and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So yeah, I totally get where I guess like you're sort of what you're talking about in that
Yeah.
perspective on things.
Yeah, but
Um,
today there's a lot more opportunity for kids in high school. There's you can do programming clubs, you can do, I've seen like ML clubs, AI clubs.
Right.
So there's a lot more you can do with programming than you could do. Even when I was in my senior year of high school, there wasn't that much programming in here in LA. So that's a different setting now. Back
Yeah,
when
for
I was
sure.
young.
Nice. Yeah, I think awareness around STEM and you know access to internet has just grown exponentially over
Yeah.
the years.
Mhm.
But in that same vein, I think there's a huge divide in access to opportunities still. And you know, you being a woman in tech, would definitely want to know, you know, what would you like advise or suggest to like say
Sure.
a ninth grader, you know, girl in high school wanting to venture into programming tech today, given that there's so many opportunities, but it might not be accessible in the manner that you know a person needs it to be.
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, I want to say that no one can stop you from learning what you want to learn. Like, no one can say, oh, hey, you're a woman, you can't do this, or you can't learn this because your brain doesn't comprehend. Men's brain does, which is things I've heard before, to be honest. Um, and it's really important, I think, to find a network of people who can support you and help raise you as you go through this, because I'll be honest, it is difficult. Like we will face a lot of sexism and just a lot of, if it's not even direct sexism, it's just it's just a pre-notion of, oh, this is what you're like because of your gender or because of the way that you look. And so it's important to be mindful and then also build on finding people who don't think that way and find a support system, mentors. There's a lot of I volunteered with a lot of programs who work with high school students, girls specifically, to help with STEM education and help afterwards with finding work. And so it is unfortunately harder, but there are opportunities that you can find. And then I will also say that it's normal to lose your motivation at some point. I've definitely had times where I'm just like, I'm going to quit everything and just go live in a mountain and not talk to anybody, but it comes and goes. So you have to be kind to yourself because it is difficult, but it is very rewarding. If it's something that you like to do, you can definitely do it. And also just, have fun. It's life is hard. Try to have fun,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Sheyda, thank you so much for that. I think
Yeah.
like hearing that definitely empowers a lot of people, regardless of who they are. And we were just like super grateful for you like sharing those thoughts. But
Yeah,
with
of
that,
course.
it was a super pleasure to have you on this first episode. We hope to, see you again super soon. And good luck with ViralMoment.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure, you guys are going to go to the moon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will add lastly that if anybody who listens to this wants some help or just needs help finding mentors or groups, just, send me an email or whatever information that you end up sharing on your podcast, but you can absolutely reach out to me. I'm happy to help always.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Thank you so much for that. Sheyda.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Are you still recording? Or are you recording?